In the long river of human history, there is a name that rings out like thunder. It once shone with unparalleled brilliance, and also endured a heartbreaking decline. That is Rome. Rome, this eternal city. Its rise and fall is like a grand, magnificent epic, filled with countless amazing stories, great figures, and far-reaching changes. From a small city-state on the banks of the Tiber, to a vast empire spanning Europe, Asia, and Africa, Rome's path to rise was full of hardships and legends. And its decline also sparked endless reflection among later generations. Let us travel through time together to explore the little-known stories behind Rome's rise and fall. Regarding Rome's origins, there is a highly mythical tale, the legend of the wolf-reared twins. According to legend, after the Trojan War ended, the Trojan prince Aeneas led his remaining people through great hardships and fled to Italy. His descendants founded the kingdom of Alba Longa on this land. Yet, the inheritance of the kingdom's throne was fraught with twists. King Numitor was overthrown by his brother Amulius through a plot to secure his rule. Amulius cruelly killed Numitor's son and forced Numitor's daughter Rhea Silvia to become a priestess, who was forbidden to marry for life, to cut off the Numitor family's bloodline. But fate always seems to play tricks. Rhea Silvia, by chance, fell in love with Mars, the god of war, and gave birth to twin sons, Romulus and Remus. When Amulius heard this news, he was terrified and ordered the twin infants to be thrown into the Tiber, hoping they would drown. Yet, perhaps by fate's design, the two babies were not swept away by the river, but were found and raised by a she-wolf. As time passed, Romulus and Remus grew to manhood. They not only had strong bodies, but also possessed extraordinary wisdom and courage. After learning their true origins, the brothers decided to avenge their grandfather and overthrow Amulius' cruel rule. They successfully gathered a group of supporters. After a fierce battle, they finally defeated Amulius and restored Numitor to the throne. After that, Romulus and Remus decided to build a city of their own, where they had been raised by the she-wolf. But the brothers clashed over the city's location and name, which eventually led to a violent fight. In the struggle, Romulus accidentally killed Remus. With a heavy heart, Romulus named the city after himself Rome, and set April 21st, 753 BC as Rome's founding day. Though this legend is full of mythic elements, it deeply reflects the Romans' unique understanding of their origins and their brave, resilient national spirit. Archaeological finds have also confirmed that around the 8th century BC, settlements did appear on the 7 hills along the Tiber. These settlements were initially made up of tribes, mainly Latins, who gradually grew strong on this land and had frequent exchanges and conflicts with neighboring tribes like the Etruscans and Samnites. Through constant warfare and integration, Rome gradually developed its own unique culture and political system, laying the groundwork for its future rise. The first few centuries after Rome's founding are called the Regal period, 753 to 509 BC. During this time, Rome was ruled by 7 kings in succession. Its political system had strong military democracy traits and gradually showed signs of a fledgling state. In Roman society during the Regal period, patriarchal clans were the basic organizational units. At that time, Rome had 300 clans. Every 10 clans formed a curia. Every 10 curiae formed a tribe, tribus. And the 3 tribes together made up the Roman people, or Roman community. In this social structure, the bodies managing public affairs were mainly the Curiate Assembly, the Senate, and the king. The Curiate Assembly included all adult men of the clans. It held significant power then, responsible for deciding on wars, electing high officials, including the king, and voting on proposals for major issues. The Senate consisted of nobles from Rome's 300 clans. They were all societal elites, with rich experience and exceptional wisdom. The Senate assisted the king in handling major matters, and held preliminary discussions on various issues, providing key input for the king's decisions. The king was elected by the Curiate Assembly. He held important powers in military, judicial, and priestly affairs, but had relatively limited authority in civil matters. Among the 7 kings of the regal period, the rule of the 6th king Servius Tullius was a milestone. During his reign, circa 578 to 534 BC, he carried out major reforms with commoners' support. These reforms profoundly influenced Rome's development and ultimately helped form the Roman slave state. Servius' reforms mainly included these aspects. First, he conducted a full census of Rome's population and divided citizens into 5 classes based on their wealth. Citizens of different classes had different political rights and military duties. The wealthier the class, the higher the political status of its members, and the heavier their military obligations. For example, first-class citizens could not only hold high office, but also had to provide well-equipped heavy infantry, while lower-class citizens mainly served as light infantry or auxiliary troops. Second, Servius established the Centuriate Assembly, which replaced the old Curiate Assembly as Rome's main political body. The Centuriate Assembly was organized by property class. Each class had a different number of centuries. The higher the property class, the more centuries it had, and the greater its voting power in the assembly. This reform gradually shifted Rome's political power to the wealthy, while also strengthening the state's control over military forces. In addition, Servius built strong walls around Rome, further boosting the city's defenses. Through these reforms, Rome established a more complete political and military system, greatly increasing the state's organizational capacity. Servius' reforms not only strengthened Rome's power, but also laid a solid foundation for its further expansion. Under his rule, Rome gradually transformed from a loose tribal alliance into a city-state with clear political structures and strong military power, beginning to stand out on the Italian peninsula. Yet the last king of the regal period, Lucius Tarquinius Superbus, broke Rome's positive political momentum. He was known for his tyranny, ruling arbitrarily, recklessly trampling on Rome's traditional political systems and citizens' rights. He launched grand construction projects, building luxurious palaces for himself, increasing the people's burden, and at the same time arbitrarily executing those who opposed him, making social conflicts increasingly sharp. Finally, the Roman people could bear it no longer, and in 509 BC staged an uprising overthrowing Tarquinius, and decided not to have a king anymore, but to establish a republic. Thus, Rome's history entered a new phase, the Republican era. The founding of the Roman Republic in 509 BC marked a new stage in Rome's history. In the early Republican era, political power in Rome lay mainly with the Senate, the popular assembly, and officials like consuls and censors, gradually forming an oligarchic republican system. The Senate had 300 members, initially controlled by nobles. Later, former consuls and upper-class commoners could join. The Senate was the Roman Republic's highest power and decision-making body, overseeing administration, legislation, diplomacy, military affairs, finance, and justice, playing a leading role in national affairs, and serving as the representative and defender of Rome's republican system. The popular assembly also changed significantly in the Republican era. The old Curiate Assembly, based on clan ties, was gradually replaced by the Centuriate Assembly. The Centuriate Assembly's duties included electing high officials, deciding whether to declare war on other nations, and voting on all bills submitted by consuls. However, because each class had different voting shares in the assembly, real power remained in the hands of a small number of nobles. For example, first-class citizens, though relatively few in number, controlled nearly half of all centuries, giving them decisive influence in votes. Consuls were the highest administrative officials of the Roman Republic. 2 were elected from the Centuriate Assembly, serving a 1-year term. They held the highest military and civil powers. Initially, the consulship was mostly monopolized by nobles, It was not until 366 BC that one consul began to be elected from common people. Consuls held extensive powers during their term, but their powers were also restricted by the Senate and the popular assembly. And after their term ended, they had to undergo strict scrutiny to prevent abuse of power. In military affairs, to counter constant threats from surrounding tribes, the Romans developed a unique and powerful military system, the legion system. Early Roman legions were mainly made up of citizen soldiers, who provided their own weapons and equipment, and were divided into different classes based on property. This system not only ensured the army's combat effectiveness, but also strengthened citizens' sense of responsibility to the state, because each soldier knew their fighting was not just for the country's honor, but also to protect their own property and family. Starting from the 4th century BC, Rome launched a large-scale expansion with its strong military power. First, Rome defeated the Samnites in central Italy through 3 Samnite Wars, 343 to 290 BC, gradually taking control of central Italy. In these wars, Roman legions showed tenacious fighting spirit and excellent tactical skills. They constantly adapted to new battlefield environments, improved tactics and equipment, and gradually became a fearsome military force. With the conquest of central Italy, Rome's sphere of influence expanded greatly, while gaining rich war experience and massive wealth, laying a solid foundation for further expansion. As the Roman Republic kept expanding, a powerful rival emerged. This was Carthage in North Africa. Carthage was a commercial city-state founded by Phoenicians. With its favorable location and developed maritime trade, it had become the hegemon of the Western Mediterranean by the 3rd century BC. Possessing a large fleet and strong economic power, conflicts of interest between Rome and Carthage grew, eventually sparking 3 Punic Wars, 264 to 146 BC. These wars were among the most intense and brutal in ancient times, exerting a profound impact on the history of Rome and the Mediterranean region. The First Punic War, 264 to 241 BC, was triggered by the ownership of Sicily. Sicily in the central Mediterranean had a critical geographic position and high strategic value for both Rome and Carthage. Early in the war, Carthage held a clear naval advantage with its strong fleet. Rome realized its weakness in naval development and quickly started building its own fleet. The Romans showed amazing creativity and learning ability. They copied Carthaginian warships, built many warships in a short time, and trained a fairly capable navy. In the key Battle of Mylae, the Roman navy cleverly used a new weapon called the corvus, crow bridge, successfully turning the naval battle into a land battle and crushing the Carthaginian fleet. After that, Rome gradually took the initiative in the war, finally forcing Carthage to sign a peace treaty, ceding Sicily and nearby islands to Rome, and paying a huge indemnity. Victory in the First Punic War not only gave Rome an important strategic stronghold, but also greatly boosted its influence in the Western Mediterranean, while providing valuable experience for Rome's further naval development. The Second Punic War, 218 to 201 BC, was started by a bold military move from famous Carthaginian general Hannibal. Hannibal knew well how strong Rome was. To break Rome's dominance on the Italian peninsula, he decided to use a strategy of surprise. In 218 BC, Hannibal led a large army with infantry, cavalry, and war elephants, set out from Spain, crossed the Alps, and suddenly appeared in northern Italy. This military operation was a miracle in military history. The Roman army was caught off guard by Hannibal. In the following war, Hannibal fully showed his outstanding military talent, winning many battles against larger Roman forces. Especially in the Battle of Cannae, Hannibal used clever tactics, successfully surrounding and destroying a large number of Roman troops, making this battle a classic in ancient military history. The devastating defeat at Cannae hit Rome hard. For a time, panic spread in Rome, and the situation was critical. Yet Rome was not scared by Hannibal's military victories. In the crisis, Rome showed tenacious resilience and strong war mobilization. The Roman Senate quickly took steps to strengthen domestic defense, while actively organizing new armies and adjusting strategies, avoiding direct battles with Hannibal and using delaying tactics to wear down his army. Besides, Rome sent troops to attack Carthaginian lands in Spain, forcing Hannibal to send troops back for help. As the war dragged on, Hannibal's army gradually faced supply problems, while the Roman army slowly regained strength through constant battles. Finally, in the Battle of Zama in 202 BC, Roman forces, led by Scipio the Elder, fought a decisive battle with Hannibal's army. In this battle, Scipio made full use of the Roman army's strengths and defeated Hannibal, forcing Carthage to seek peace. The Second Punic War ended with Rome's victory. Carthage lost all its lands in Spain, paid another huge indemnity, and its naval power was badly weakened, never to recover. Through this war, Rome fully established its hegemony in the Western Mediterranean, expanding its influence further. The Third Punic War, 149 to 146 BC, was a devastating strike by Rome against Carthage. Even though Carthage was greatly weakened after the Second Punic War, Rome still doubted Carthage, fearing it might rise again as a threat. To eliminate this hidden danger completely, Rome declared war on Carthage in 149 BC. By then, Carthage could no longer fight a large-scale war with Rome and had to defend its city. Roman troops besieged Carthage for 3 years, finally capturing it in 146 BC. The Romans carried out brutal killings and plundering in the city, destroying Carthage completely, and selling survivors into slavery. Carthage, once a glorious commercial city-state, disappeared from history. The end of the Third Punic War marked Rome as the undisputed hegemon of the Western Mediterranean, expanding its influence further and laying a solid foundation for the future vast Roman Empire. After conquering the Western Mediterranean, Rome turned its eyes east. At that time, the Eastern Mediterranean was mainly ruled by several strong Hellenistic states like the Macedonian Kingdom, the Seleucid Kingdom, and the Ptolemaic Kingdom. These states inherited ancient Greek culture and traditions, and had considerable strength in politics, economy, and military. Contacts and conflicts between Rome and these eastern states grew, finally causing 4 Macedonian Wars, 214 to 146 BC. Through these wars, Rome successfully spread its influence to Greece and Asia Minor. The First Macedonian War, 214 to 205 BC, broke out mainly because Macedonian King Philip V tried to expand his influence in Greece, taking advantage of Rome's struggle in the Second Punic War with Carthage. Philip V formed an alliance with Carthage's Hannibal to fight Rome together. When Rome heard this, it decided to act to stop Macedonian expansion. Early in the war, Rome could not send many troops against Macedonia because of the Hannibalic War, so the war progressed slowly. Both sides fought a series of small battles in Greece without a decisive win. Finally, in 205 BC, the two sides signed a peace treaty, ending the First Macedonian War in a draw. Though this war did not change Greece's political situation, it marked Rome's official involvement in Eastern Mediterranean affairs, foreshadowing further expansion later. The Second Macedonian War, 200 to 197 BC, arose because Macedon kept expanding its power in Greece after the First War. This alarmed the Greek city-states. Some Greek city-states turned to Rome for help, hoping Rome would stop Macedon's aggression. The Roman Senate saw this as a great chance to spread its influence into Greece, so it decided to declare war on Macedon again. In this war, Roman forces under the command of Flamininus fully used their military strengths and quickly defeated the Macedonian army. In 197 BC, the two sides fought a decisive battle at Cynocephaly. In the fight, Roman troops used tactics skillfully, successfully breaking through the Macedonian phalanx and crushing the Macedonian army. Philip V was forced to seek peace and sign a humiliating treaty. Macedon lost most of its lands in Greece and had to pay a huge indemnity. Rome, through this war, successfully brought Greece into its sphere of influence. becoming the protector of the Greek city-states. The Third Macedonian War, 171 to 168 BC, broke out because King Perseus of Macedon tried to restore Macedon's former glory, rebuilding its dominance in Greece. He actively built up his military and formed alliances with neighboring states, posing a serious threat to Rome's interests in Greece. The Roman Senate saw Macedon's ambitions and decided to launch another war to wipe out the threat for good. Early in the war, Roman forces fell into a passive spot due to poor leadership and bad tactics. But as the war went on, Roman forces gradually adjusted their strategies, stepping up military pressure on Macedon. In 168 BC, at the Battle of Pydna, Roman troops under Aemilius Paulus defeated the Macedonian army once more. Perseus was captured and the Macedonian kingdom was totally destroyed, becoming a Roman province. Victory in the Third Macedonian War further solidified Rome's rule in Greece and Asia Minor, expanding its influence even more. The Fourth Macedonian War, 150 to 148 BC, was started by an uprising from remaining Macedonian forces. These remnants wanted to overthrow Roman rule and restore Macedon's independence. Rome quickly sent troops to put down the uprising. After fierce fighting, Roman forces successfully ended the revolt, wiping out all anti-Roman forces in Macedon. Through the four Macedonian Wars, Rome not only spread its power into the eastern Mediterranean, but also took control of Greece, Macedon, and parts of Asia Minor, becoming the ruler of the entire Mediterranean. But Rome's massive expansion brought a host of problems and challenges. As overseas territories grew, thousands of slaves were brought back to Rome, causing big changes in Roman society. The flood of slaves hit Rome's small farm economy hard. Many farmers lost their land and became drifters. Meanwhile, Rome's social structure changed a lot. The gap between rich and poor grew wider and social conflicts got sharper. Nobles grabbed huge amounts of wealth and land through wars. They built large estates using slave labor, making it hard for small farmers to compete. Many landless farmers flocked to Rome, becoming jobless, relying on state handouts and putting Rome's social stability at risk. To ease social conflicts, some far-sighted politicians tried to make reforms. The most famous of these were the reforms of the Gracchi brothers. In 133 BC, Tiberius Gracchus was elected tribune. He proposed a land reform bill setting a limit on how much land each citizen could own. The extra land would be taken back by the state and given to landless farmers. This bill was supported by most common people, but strongly opposed by nobles. At a public assembly, Tiberius Gracchus and his supporters were attacked by the noble group. Tiberius Gracchus was killed and his reform failed. In 123 BC, Gaius Gracchus, Tiberius' brother, was elected tribune. He carried on his brother's reform work and put forward more radical measures, including expanding citizenship, lowering grain prices, and building roads and ports. Gaius Gracchus' reforms hit nobles' interests even more, so the nobles launched another violent attack. Gaius Gracchus was forced to kill himself and his reform failed too. Though the Gracchi brothers' reforms failed, they showed how sharp Rome's social conflicts were, and planted the seeds for the Roman Republic's fall. After that, Roman society fell into long-term unrest and chaos. Military leaders started using their armies to grab power. The Roman Republic slowly moved toward military dictatorship. On the political stage in the late Roman Republic, three great statesmen and military leaders appeared. They were Pompey, Caesar, and Crassus. In 60 BC, the three formed a political alliance called the First Triumvirate. With their combined power, they took control of Rome's politics, dividing up Rome's power and benefits. Pompey governed Spain and the Mediterranean. Caesar governed Gaul, and Crassus governed Syria. But the First Triumvirate didn't last long. In 53 BC, Crassus died in a war against the Parthians, and the First Triumvirate fell apart. Tensions between Pompey and Caesar grew, finally leading to civil war. In 49 BC, Caesar led his army across the Rubicon River, marching on Rome. Pompey was forced to flee to Greece. In 48 BC, Caesar defeated Pompey at the Battle of Pharsalus. Pompey fled to Egypt and was killed by Egyptian king Ptolemy XIII. After becoming Rome's sole ruler, Caesar made a series of reforms, including expanding citizenship, reforming the calendar, building public buildings, and easing debt troubles. These reforms won support from common people and soldiers, but made Senate nobles fear and resent him. On March 15, 44 BC, Caesar was assassinated in the Senate by Brutus and others, stabbed 23 times and dying on the spot. Caesar's death didn't save the Roman Republic, but started a new round of civil war. Caesar's adopted son Octavian, Caesar's general Antony, and Lepidus formed the Second Triumvirate, working together against the nobles who killed Caesar. After years of war, the Second Triumvirate finally defeated the noble group, taking control of Rome's politics. But the Second Triumvirate also fell apart over power sharing. Octavian and Antony fought fiercely for power. Finally, in 31 BC at the Battle of Actium, Octavian defeated the combined forces of Antony and Egyptian Queen Cleopatra VII. Antony and Cleopatra killed themselves. Octavian became Rome's only ruler. The Roman Republic ended and the Roman Empire was officially born. In 27 BC, Octavian was given the title Augustus by the Senate, which means sacred or honored. Augustus became the first emperor of the Roman Empire. He set up the Principate system, ruling as a military dictator. During his reign, Augustus took steps to strengthen his rule, including reorganizing the army, reforming the government, developing the economy, and promoting culture. In military matters, Augustus set up a standing army and a Praetorian Guard, tightening control over the military. He also reformed the military, boosting its fighting power and discipline. In government, Augustus split the Roman Empire into senatorial provinces and imperial provinces, strengthening central control over local areas. He also set up government agencies to handle state business. In the economy, Augustus focused on farming, taking steps to boost agriculture like cutting farm taxes and building irrigation projects. He also promoted industry, trade, and foreign commerce, making the Roman Empire's economy grow fast. In culture, Augustus supported cultural development, encouraging literature, art, and architecture. He built famous structures like the Pantheon and Augustus Forum, making Rome one of the most prosperous cities in the world at the time. Augustus' rule saw the Roman Empire enter a time of relative stability and prosperity, called the Pax Romana, Roman peace. During this period, the empire's lands expanded, the economy grew quickly, and culture flourished. After Augustus died, the Roman Empire went through some political troubles and military fights, but stayed mostly prosperous and stable. From the 1st to the 2nd century AD, the Roman Empire had several outstanding emperors, like Trajan, Hadrian, Antoninus Pius, and Marcus Aurelius. They are known as the Five Good Emperors. During the Five Good Emperors' reign, the Roman Empire reached its peak, with a territory of about 5 million square kilometers and a population of around 60 million. Under Trajan's rule, he actively expanded outward, conquering Dacia, Arabia, and other regions, stretching the Roman Empire's territory to its greatest size. During Hadrian's reign, he focused on domestic governance and building. He constructed Hadrian's Wall, strengthening defenses along the northern borders. He also made a series of reforms, like overhauling the legal system and cleaning up government administration, making the Roman Empire more politically stable and economically prosperous. Under Antoninus Pius, he kept following Hadrian's policies, maintaining the empire's stability and prosperity. During Marcus Aurelius' rule, the Roman Empire faced invasions from northern barbarians and internal unrest, but he still stuck to governing the country. His Meditations became a classic in Western philosophy. Yet starting in the 3rd century AD, the Roman Empire slowly declined. During this time, the empire faced a host of problems and challenges, like political chaos, economic slump, military losses, and barbarian raids. In politics, the Roman Empire's imperial succession system was flawed, causing fierce battles for the throne and constant political upheaval. From 235 AD to 284 AD, The empire had 26 emperors in a row. Most took power through military coups. And their reigns were short. Economically, the Roman Empire's economy gradually worsened. Long wars and political chaos badly damaged farm production, making food shortages more and more severe. At the same time, industry and trade slowed down. Foreign commerce dropped, currency lost value, and inflation got out of hand. Militarily, the empire's military strength weakened. Low pay and poor morale hurt the army's fighting ability. Meanwhile, the empire faced invasions from northern barbarians, like Germans and Goths, who kept raiding the borders, posing a serious threat. To save the empire from decline, some emperors tried reforms. The most famous were those by Diocletian and Constantine I. Under Diocletian, he set up the Tetrarchy, splitting the empire into eastern and western parts, each run by an emperor, with a junior emperor under each to help govern. He also made other reforms, like reorganizing the army, fixing finances, and tightening control over local areas. During Constantine I's reign, he moved the empire's capital from Rome to Byzantium, renaming it Constantinople. He issued the Edict of Milan, recognizing Christianity as legal, helping it slowly become the empire's state religion. Constantine I's reforms eased the crisis a bit, but didn't fix the root problems. In 395 AD, the Roman Empire officially split into the Eastern and Western Roman Empires. The Eastern Empire had Constantinople as its capital. The Western Empire kept Rome as its capital. The Western Roman Empire faced worse barbarian invasions. From the late 4th century AD, barbarians like Germans, Goths, and Vandals kept attacking it. They seized many cities and regions, hitting the Western Empire hard. In 410 AD, the Visigoths captured Rome. It was the first time Rome had been taken by a foreign enemy since its founding, shocking the Western Empire deeply. In 476 AD, Odoacer, a leader of Germanic mercenaries, removed Romulus Augustus, the last Western Roman emperor. The Western Roman Empire fell. Its fall marked the end of ancient European history and the start of the Middle Ages. The Eastern Roman Empire lasted nearly 1,000 years in relative stability. It kept the Roman Empire's culture and traditions, while also taking in Greek and Eastern cultural elements, forming a unique Byzantine culture. The Eastern Empire achieved things in politics, economy, and culture, like the Code of Justinian put together under Justinian I, which became an important model for later legal systems. But the Eastern Roman Empire also faced problems and challenges, like invasions from the Arab Empire and internal political chaos. In 1453 AD, the Ottoman Turkish Empire captured Constantinople. The Eastern Roman Empire fell. The rise and fall of the Roman Empire was a key event in human history. It deeply shaped world history's development. The empire's achievements in law, politics, culture, and architecture left valuable legacies for later generations. Roman law is a major source of modern Western legal systems. Roman political systems influence the growth of modern democracy. Roman culture and architecture also had a lasting impact. At the same time, the empire's decline taught us important lessons. It shows that for a country to stay prosperous and stable, it needs a solid political system, stable society, strong military, and thriving economy. Otherwise, even a once great empire will slowly fall apart.